You're going to be stupid for trying to fix stupid. There's no such way, thing, nothing. So it brings me to Alec Baldwin. Do I like Alec Baldwin? Do I hate Alec Baldwin? I really don't have that much of an opinion on the person, except for what you know about him through the tabloids and whatever, which obviously is a distorted view of anybody and anybody. If you think you know someone from what is said in the media about them, you're doing yourself a disservice, right? But Alec Baldwin was just making some kind of crap movie, low budget, and then ended up shooting a couple of people with a so-called prop gun. And one of the people that got shot was a cinematographer, a female, shot and killed, and then a director. He was shot and not killed. So people are racing out there. The prop gun. I can't believe it happened. It was a terrible accident. How did it happen? So prop guns aren't supposed to shoot real bullets, although most of the prop guns that they use are real guns and they use blanks. Blanks still shoot a projectile. In this case, it was the underexperienced woman who was in charge of these guns, and she was a dangerous person that other people have walked off the movie set that worked with her because she's a dangerous person, but she kept getting away with it for whatever reason. I don't know. A lot of people get a pass these days for doing terrible things, and who knows? There's a lot of reasons. I don't know why they get the pass. So, but obviously, Alec Baldwin was messing around with that gun, doing something he shouldn't have been doing, pointing it at a cinematographer and pulling the trigger. I mean, that's not good behavior with a gun, period, toy or not, prop or not. So I'm part of a couple of gun clubs, and I'll tell you the rules are very serious and very specific. But even in the world of play guns, even in the world of prop guns, it's not something you want to mess around with, right? Shoots these people, kills them. Just saw a picture of him out with his family in New England. He doesn't look like a happy man. He doesn't look like he's like, wow, I'm just living my life and I'm getting over it. He looks like somebody who's suffering over something terrible that happened. And you have to have that, no matter what you think about him as an actor or whatever you think about him, we are all human beings. And, obviously the guy didn't pick up a loaded gun and shoot someone because he wanted to kill them, and the fact of the matter is he did take someone's life, right? So a Vermont gun group comes forward and says that Alec Baldwin broke every single rule of basic firearm safety. So the leader of a pro gun group, where the state where Baldwin is thought to be hiding out, he's hiding out in Vermont, blamed the Hollywood hypocrite for his deadly onset shooting, saying the star broke every single basic rule. Eric Davis, president of Gun Owners of Vermont. Vermont, something? People tend to peg Vermont as this big liberal island unto itself. It's actually not as liberal as you would think, and they love their guns, liberal or not, in Vermont. Vermont's got a lot of gun stores, and they have a very interesting gun rules, even for handguns. So anyway, so this guy Eric Davis is just some president of some gun. You know what? They're going to come out of the woodwork and sell kinds of stuff, right? I guess because Alec Baldwin's hiding out in Vermont. So I guess the media is going to run to whoever the gun group is of that state. So he ripped Baldwin for his mismanagement and not taking individual accountability for the accidental shooting. Whatever. Killed this woman, 42 years old, in New Mexico. They should have went to a New Mexican like gun gun group, some Native American, some Hopi Indian, giving their angle on Alec Baldwin. So now, should Donald Trump go on Saturday Night Live and play Alec Baldwin in the shooting? I don't know. Like there's a lot of stuff that goes through my mind when I start thinking of these things. Okay, but this guy's like, it was after he was given a loaded firearm from a questionable armorer. That's not how people from Vermont talk. How does somebody from Vermont talk? I'll do a Bernie Sanders. How about Bernie? It was after he was given a loaded firearm from a questionable armorer under his supervision, whom he did not personally watch load the weapon, that he deliberately pointed a firearm at two people, presumably holding the camera, and pulled the trigger. How's that? How's that? He then listed the four basic rules that Baldwin, 63 years old. How does he look for 63? He looks kind of whatever. He's a Long Island native, man. I'll tell you, man, Long Island people are really. I was just talking about Long Island people last week. How Long Island people are the most obedient and also impatient people you'll ever meet. These are people who have no time for anything. Run, run, run. Got to get through it, man. Give me that bagel. Give me that newspaper. Let me get the hell out of here. Oh, get back on, back on the train with your business suit on and your sneakers, going to the city. Not with COVID anymore. COVID's kind of changed those things, man. So obedient, because they'll sit in hours of traffic on Long Island to go, like 4 hours of traffic to go 10 miles, you know, and fight with people as they're doing it in the other cars. It's like a race of fish tanks going at 1 mile an hour. People cut each other off trying to get into the other lane because they think it's going faster than the one that they're in. What a life. Oh my God. So let's see. They included failing to treat the weapon as if it were loaded. Oh yeah. His finger should have never been anywhere near the trigger. Sure, all these things. He's on a movie set. He's goofing around, right? And it was a terrible accident. So I just find it interesting how, because this guy's come out against Trump, right? And he played Trump on Saturday Night Live and did all that other stuff. And now the very same people that were laughing and supporting him, attacking Trump, are now all coming out after him and saying he should go to jail because he killed that woman and guns are evil and he's evil for using guns and yada, yada, yada. You see, there's no, you know what? Just because you're friends with someone one day doesn't mean you can be friends with them tomorrow. Yeah, it doesn't mean they're going to be there for you. So, but and was this preventable? Yeah. Should that woman have been in charge of those firearms? No. They made a huge deal out of her being some kind of ex model and whatever. I don't care what you are. If you're dangerous on the set, then you don't belong there. You're talking about real firearms and they're using blanks. These aren't wooden guns anymore like they used to use back in the day, or cap guns. This is the real deal. They want the real effect. Well, they got the real effect. But also, for people like Alec Baldwin, you shouldn't come out against all this gun stuff and all the violence, and then make violent movies with guns like Quentin Tarantino, right? The whole Tarantino thing. His movies are the most bloody, messy, disgusting, raw, vile creations you'll find. Then there's the guy like protesting for peace and love against violence. But what does he think his movies do to the average psyche of the average person as they're watching it? Do you think that it's making some grand, amazing statement on mankind that's so staggering it's going to change the way people live their lives? Or is it just basic entertainment? And if it's basic entertainment, it's so violent and so heavy, and you know, is that entertainment? Maybe for somebody who's really sick minded. I've seen the movies, yeah, and they don't leave me feeling with a good feeling. Like when you experience something, as far as I'm concerned, it should leave you feeling halfway decent, or just normal. You know what I mean? Content, but not feeling sick to your stomach, not feeling like a horror movie, for instance, is supposed to scare you in the moment, but not have long lasting psychological effects on you. And I think that a lot of these people who are these directors, who are these writers, have a lot of deep seated problems. You know, I mean, a lot of them. So you'd be surprised uh, who, like Edgar Allan Poe, right? And people. I don't think people know a lot about Edgar Allan Poe. Ultimately, you know, but I think that I mean, this guy. I guess it also goes to the times. Maybe our standards today is different from people's standards back then. You know what I mean? So, but I mean, this guy, he's married to a 13-year-old. That was his wife. You know what I mean? And, you know, uh, people are going to say, well, those were the times. I think that it is a story I just saw about, he lived in New York City. Inside here it is, Edgar Allan Poe's hellish and relatable New York City housing hunt. So I guess he lived in some kind of farmhouse or whatever back in the late 1800s in New York City, when New York City had farmland. It's amazing to think like that. Not as much farmland, I don't know, uh, housing, that type of stuff, but also farmland. Yeah, I guess. Okay, let me just read this. Amenities include a beating heart below the floorboards, ghosts, and a jet black raven rapping at your door. For a few literature lovers, New York City offers the chance to walk in the footsteps and even sleep under the same roof as America's creepiest writer, Edgar Allan Poe. Poe's spine chilling masterpieces were written in domiciles across the city and reflect some of the personal horrors he experienced in New York City. Imagine that. Horrors in New York City. Unheard of. The city is thronged with strangers, and everything wears an aspect of intense life, Poe wrote in Manhattan in 1844 in a newspaper series titled Doings in Gotham. The streets are, with rare exception, insufferably dirty. So, what was this? 1844. And here we are, 2021, and still a dirty burg. The one thing, never, ever, even all those floods, you think that water cleans some up. Okay, let me see. All right, so Poe said, the more things change, the more you know, how the saying goes. The morbid poet eked out a short but fanciful life from 1809 to 1849, and in that time he lived in the city on at least three separate occasions and in 10 or more locations across Manhattan and the Bronx. Poe moved to New York for the same reason. People still move to New York. They like the sound of gunfire, something like that. It's where things were happening, right? And let's see. In addition to his morbid poems and short stories, Poe also wrote stories about life in the city and his thriving literary scene. He was both an insider and an outsider to the publishing world. I think it influenced his writing. He did lots of journalism while he was in New York. A lot was about New York City. Here's a look. Go down to the important part. In 1844, Poe moved with his wife Virginia, who was 13 years old, and also Poe's cousin. So 13-year-old wife and his cousin. Right? Not judging, man, but I wouldn't play today. Maybe in West Virginia or something. I don't know. Not cool. Just interesting. I guess people say, well, that's the times. Those were the times. 1844, right? Before the Civil War and all that. So, to a double, let's see. So, he moved to a double room on the second floor of a farmhouse at 215 West 84th Street, at an intersection of Broadway, then known as Bloomingdale Road, on Manhattan's Upper West Side. 215 West 84th Street. It's a nice area, like these days. All right. The area was still largely farmland, and Poe hoped to provide a respite for his wife, who was suffering from tuberculosis. So she's 13, she's a cousin, and she's got tuberculosis, man. This guy's going through some stuff. It was also the location where Poe completed his most famous poem, The Raven. The five-story building that stands in its place today, dubbed Eagle Court, was built in 1925 and offers 129 rental units that go from 2,100 for a studio to a one-bedroom penthouse. You know what? I'll tell you, one-bedroom penthouse with private terrace, exposed brick walls, and a spiral staircase for 3,600 a month. That ain't bad as far as apartments go. Units boast of high ceilings, ample closet space, a laundry room, and the echoes of a spooky past. Not really. It's a completely different building that just happens to be on the location of a farmhouse that was there in the 1800s, where Edgar Allan Poe lived with his preteen wife, whatever she is. So, two large raven statues mark the entrance of the building, along with a plaque memorializing Poe. So, if you're napping on West 84th Street and suddenly there comes a tapping, someone gently rapping at your chamber door, it may not be the delivery guy, it may not be someone trying to rob you, it might be the ghost of Edgar Allan Poe. Poe. Okay. So, whatever, man. I just think it's interesting. The history of it all. You know what I mean? And I just talked about Poe a little bit because Halloween's coming. And I hope you guys out there have a really good and safe Halloween. I'll tell you, Halloween COVID style, and we are doing a Halloween show here on United Public Radio Network. All the hosts, every last one of them, is going to be there. Even hosts that have passed away, we're going to have a seance, man, and bring our hosts through. People that you haven't heard from in a while. I'll tell you, it's better to sit at home. This is what you do, right? You put your costume on, you get your bag of candy, you sit in front of your phone, computer, however you get United Public Radio Network, radio, and you listen to our show, and you watch the antics, and I'll be on camera with everybody else, and we're going to do our thing, man, for Halloween. So what do you think of that? What do you think of that? So, I don't know. I've had kind of a weird week. Very busy in my work and what I do. But when I look out there at the world, I just kind of want to laugh at things, man. It's not easy to laugh at things sometimes. But sometimes you just have to. And then also, what's really sad about famous people who are becoming aged, especially women, but probably any sex symbol, male, female, you know, when they start to lose it, when they hit the wall, and that popularity doesn't exist anymore for them. And, David Cassidy was that guy. You probably don't even know who the hell he is. Maybe you do. He was on the Partridge Family, right? And he had famous parents, you know. and that was the family. They're on TV singing. They have the crazy hippie bus. The manager's driving, and all the kids are there. Danny Bonaduce, Danny Bonaduce. He's out there, reality kind of star kind of guy, wacky wackadoodle. Everyone on the show, some of them fell to the wayside. You never heard from them again. Some of them went to the forefront. What's funny is Danny on the show and Danny Bonaduce in real life is like, it's like he wasn't acting. That's kind of like his personality. And I kind of like the guy. He's a wackadoodle. But anyway, David Cassidy, all these girls loved him. They wanted him. It was, they couldn't go to a hotel. They couldn't go anywhere because, these girls would like break down the door and try to rip his clothes off. He had that going on. And, he did his shows and my sister had his album. And Partridge Family. The Partridge Family was on primetime TV when I was a little kid. It was like a cool show, Brady Bunch. That's how freaking old I am. Partridge Family. So, but when he hit the wall, it wasn't long before he hit the wall, before it was, they were done for, right? Obviously, because people have their 15 minutes of fame and it's over. So, and then the girls didn't want him anymore. And then, you do what I call the pathetic tours. This is where these older guys go on tour and they play these little tiny poke holes in the middle of nowhere, so podunk town. And then the women who come out to engage with them, and crowds, men too, because the women drag their boyfriends or husbands. Come on, David Cassidy's playing at Dopplinger's saloon. I don't want to go to that idiot. Oh, come on, dude, Partridge Family, David Cassidy. Guy's an idiot. They never liked him. They don't like him now. Oh, but I want to go see. The tickets are only $2. All right, buy one get one free. And here you go, and this guy takes the stage, and there's a whole the crowd of heifers in the front that are his age. They're not the young cute girls back in the day. The teeny boppers. No, these are women, grandmas. Some of them, you know, live their lives already, and what they know about him and what they like about him is totally different than what the guy thinks of himself. He became nostalgic, right? So you have to live with that, and you have to live with crashing and burning as that. I mean, some people, Burt Reynolds, he was able to carry it all the way through, even when he was a dirty old man. He was still a cute, dirty old man. Sean Connery, same thing. These guys pretty much kept it together until they died. But there's a lot of people that can't. So Brooke Shields is one of those people. And I don't want to be, I read this article. It kind of stood out at me because these people make their rounds after all is said and done. And instead of respecting the past, they overanalyze it, and then they have to tell somebody. They have to tell somebody because it's so important what Brooke Shields thinks about anything, right? All right. Brooke Shields revisits her controversial Calvin Klein ad. She said, I was naive. First of all, it was her mom who was the manager who was peddling her and all that, right? And it was, she was in a movie naked with this other dude, underage, completely naked, in the Blue Lagoon, I think it was called, right? So, I mean, like, and that movie's out there. They wouldn't make that movie today because that movie's out there. You feel uncomfortable watching that movie, you know? Anyway, Brooke Shields, 1980s Calvin Klein ads are downright iconic, but she never expected to make fashion history. The supermodel, 56, she's 56. You see, when I look at her, she looks like she's 76, and I'm not being mean or anything. I'm just saying, like, I think things take a toll on you. She doesn't, I would never look at her and say, yeah, she looks like she's in her mid 50s. No way. I mean, take a look at her. She's kind of interesting, and she didn't live a hard life, By the way, all right, the supermodel, former supermodel, 56, starred in the denim advertisement at just 15 years old, instantly sparking controversy with the line, "Nothing comes between me and my Calvins. Nothing." So, of course, everyone knew right away from that statement saying she's not wearing underwear. Nothing comes between me and my Calvins. Nothing, even underwear. That was the thing at the time. So people be like, "Hey man, she's not wearing any underwear," and I'm like, "This is a 15-year-old," and people are sexualizing a 15-year-old. And it was happy. These businesses are happy to do it. Look at Britney Spears, right? Her first album, when she went in there singing about Jesus in front of these producers, she was a teenager. And her first album, what was it? I remember the cover. She was sitting there in a little schoolgirl outfit with pigtails, sprawled out on the floor, like with her legs apart, looking up at the camera. I mean, that's what they're selling it. So you can't sell it and then come out against it in the same breath, because this is what Hollywood does. This is what the music business does. But who are they selling it to? More importantly, right? So several TV networks banned the commercials for being too provocative. It just struck me as so ridiculous, the whole thing. Shields told Vogue of the shocking backlash. "I was so naive. I didn't think of anything of it. I didn't think it had to do with underwear. I didn't think it was a sexual in nature." Because she's 15. Most people don't know shit when they're 15 years old, you know? You don't expect a 15-year-old to go out there and solve all the problems of the world. That's why you're supposed to have responsible parents around here that make decisions and help you make those decisions, or at least give you the guidance. But it was her mother who sold her ass, basically. So, as for the ad's infamous tagline, "If they had intended on the double entendre, and they didn't explain it to me, and it didn't phase me," she recalled. So she remembers she wasn't affected by it. She was fine. Nobody stopped her. She didn't stop breathing. You know what I mean? Nothing, right? Didn't phase her. Shields says, and this is the 1980s, by the way, when she was 15 years old. Shields said viewers seemed to amuse that she was much more savvy than she was at the time, adding, "I was a virgin. I was a virgin forever after that." And then that became the thing people got hooked into. I don't understand that saying. I get it, but wow, what a thing to say. So she was a babe in the woods, right? The brunette beauty did admit that she's, since obviously I didn't write this, look at the wording of the article itself. The brunette beauty did admit that she since realized her ads were more suggestive than she initially thought. At what time do you think that happened? She's 56, and this is when she was 15. From 15 to 56, at what time in the timeline do you think she was like, "Hey," you know, when somebody said nothing comes between you and your Calvin. Hey, wait a minute. Was that 42? Was that 37? At what age? In what month? I want to know when that moment of clarity was. Hey, I'm not wearing underwear. All right. The choreography was specific and intentional, she said. "Yeah, at 56, I can go back and look at the camera and see, oh, well, they're zooming in on kind of my crotch area, and then it comes to my face. Okay." But as Shields added, "Sex has sold since the dawn of time." There you go. It's probably something her mom told her. "Shut up. Sex has sold since the dawn of time. It's almost the oldest business." Almost. Today, the mom of two daughters, Rowan, 18, and Greer, 15, is proud of the commercial's impact. In fact, Shields recently teamed up with Calvin Klein again for an underwear campaign showing more than she ever did in her teenage years. Oh my God, no. Oh God, God, no, God, no. Why would you want to do that? You know? What does that prove? What does it prove? I don't get it. What does it prove? You know? Britney Spears taking off her clothes. She won a lawsuit, and here's my boobs and my coochie. Like, is that the beat all of winning? Or oh, now here I am at 56. I'm going to take my clothes off for the camera. No. And what are you doing? You're celebrating what? That you put a coochie ad out at one time at 15, underage. All right. She said, on the one hand, I don't think you could get away with a lot of what I did in the 80s now. But by the same token, so much more is done now than what we would have even dreamt of laying back then. So she gets it, and she's kind of proud of it. You know, sounds like she would do it again with no problem. Look at her, she got little feet. Isn't that funny? A lot of women don't have little feet anymore. I wonder what happened there. So there is an assimilation, she says, of sexuality now that I certainly didn't have when I was 15. Whereas now I see my teenagers with different body images and different fears and different insecurities. Yeah, welcome to the internet. Welcome to social media. But at 15, she just didn't get it. You know, the light bulb was off. She didn't get it. She didn't get what she understood, what she meant. She didn't get. Of course, she got it. Come on. I'm looking at a picture of her with the jeans on, with her little feet and these boots, and her shirt is unbuttoned. Only the top button's buttoned, no bra, and you just see her skin, the whole bit. It is a provocative sexual picture, and this is what they intended on creating, and she has no problem with it. So this was the beginning of the social media that you see now, of these people using body images and shaming each other and doing all these things that they're doing. So good luck to Brooke Shields. I actually met her mom one time, and I knew this guy. Well, Andre Agassi, who was a tennis player, and I worked in a club for a time in the city, and there was a VIP lounge, and then all the muckety mucks went and hung out up there. So, and he was one of those dudes, and he was married to Brooke Shields at the time. So, but I met Brooke Shields' mom, and she was just, ugh. She was nasty to everybody there. I didn't really personally interact with her, and I don't know. There are some people that they just I don't know, they weren't raised right or something. They don't know how to act. They don't know what they how they treat how to treat other people. And I don't want to be around people like that. But what I do like, I like people that can multitask. I'm a really good multitasker. If you're talking to me during the day or something, I'm doing 5 or 6 things at one time and focusing on the conversation, right? But this story stood out at me because this guy truly understands how to multitask, and they're knocking him for it, you know. And how could you not? Right? So Joe Buck was a sports type of guy. Sports, what do they call him? Sportscaster. Joe Buck. Let's see. Let me get down to the story. Joe Buck speaking on Smart Less podcast. The World Series broadcaster and Pro Football Hall of Famer told the story of time he urinated while calling an NFL touchdown. Ha. See now, Brooke Shields goes on and tells the useless media that she has no qualms over sexualizing 15-year-olds, right? This guy goes on and says, I called an NFL touchdown and I peed in the bottle. That is I don't have the time to get to the bathroom, wait on the lines, go through all that. I'm gonna pee in this bottle, man. That you have to have respect for. It may sound like a pissy story to begin with, but I think once we get into the real guts of it, man, you're gonna understand more about Joe Buck and whoever the hell he is. So he said, I have peed in a bottle while calling an NFL touchdown. I swear to God. Then he brings religion into it. I swear to God, I peed in a bottle. Is that something you need to swear to God for? He said, I was peeing in a trash can and they handed me a little water bottle. I wouldn't brag about peeing in a little water bottle. If you got something that can fit in that little water bottle. We came back from a break and I was peeing and the action started. Shh. And I called a touchdown while urine was coming out of me. Oh my God. Is that really the only story the guy had to tell these people? Buck said this happened during a Packers and Falcons game, of course, at the Milwaukee County Stadium. So it was back in 1994. Of course, the story also begs to question why Buck was peeing in a trash can to begin with. Yes, he was presumably worried, rightfully, that he went to the bathroom, the game would resume before he got back. Oh my God. So he should have wore diapers. You see that? Remember that woman, that astronaut that was going to like kill her? She was in a triangle of love and she and she was going to kill the lovers and all that. And she drove 900 miles nonstop, just stopping to get gas. And she didn't use the bathroom. She wore diapers to go do this. And that's love. You know what I mean? If someone loves you that much, and they're willing to put diapers on, drive 900 miles nonstop to kill your ass, that is love. Oh my God. And also, she'd make a great limousine driver. So, all right. I think that you know what? As I look at this world from my mountaintop, I see I see how things are going, and it scares the hell out of me sometimes. Makes me not want to go out into groups and crowds. So, in the New York City, I used to live down there. I'm from Long Island, and you see what's going on down there. It's like the entire government down there has turned a blind eye to crime, you know, and they really downplay everything, to the point where it's ridiculous what they're doing. It's ridiculous, and you gotta say to yourself, the crime, the shootings, the kids getting shot, people bring guns into school shootings near schools. I mean, that's just part of it. Then De Blasio, the mayor, is now talking about running for governor of New York State because Cuomo, the Democratic governor of New York State, had to step down because now today he was charged with touching a breast. He grabbed the boob, and there goes his entire career, right? Touching the breast, and I don't. You know what? I just don't. It's a weird world. And now the new governor, which was his lieutenant governor, she was on the other day talking about religion, like Jesus, and you're my disciples, and there's a reason why we lived through the COVID. There's a reason why we're all here. And what about? She said it was God's will that all those people in that room were there, and also it's God's will that 700 and what 40,000 some people in the U.S. dead from COVID. I mean, like, I hate hearing that. I hate hearing people saying that, and I certainly hate hearing my governor of New York State saying that. It doesn't make me feel very good. It doesn't make me feel like they're smart. It doesn't make me feel like they know what they're doing. It makes me feel like they're completely out of control, actually. So, and here's another one. Cops arrest 29-year-old man and charged him with trying to strangle an 11-year-old girl in a Manhattan park, right? Nathaniel DiRenzo of St. Mark's Place. Oh my God, St. Mark's Pizza in New York City, some of the best. Some of the best was collared Saturday morning in connection with a vicious October 20th attack in broad daylight at Stuyvesant Square near Perlman Place, East 16th Street. He was charged with second degree strangulation, 2 counts of acting in a manner injurious to a child, second degree harassment, and 2 counts of assault. See, Edgar Allan Poe is lucky that it ain't 2021 when he was around. He would have been charged with all kinds of stuff. The unhinged suspect began yelling at the victim and her classmates. Uh, a cop said, then began to spray water at a little girl. When the girl attempted to fight back, the suspect grabbed her, punched her in the face, and wrapped his hands. He said her before, wrapped his hands around her neck and tried to strangle her. The terrified little girl was removed to Mount Sinai, Beth Israel, in stable condition. All right. Look at this dude. So the story's got a twist because it turns out this guy, it doesn't say in this article, I guess this is one before, well, another classmate at the park, a 15-year-old boy was assaulted while trying to help his classmate. The boy was treated at the scene by EMS. Another part of this is that this guy's actually a teacher somewhere, you know? And, oh, man, I should go grab that part of the article. I guess they don't want to tell people that he's part of an agency that helps children, and here he's like strangling kids in the park. You know, let me see. Here it is. What's that one? Man arrested. Police that man. This guy. Here we go. This dude. And look at this. Is how interesting that they don't really tell the story, do they? Let me see. DiRenzo has previously served on the board of directors for the Lineage Project, which aims to teach children ways to cope with traumatic experiences. Nathaniel DiRenzo was never an employee of the Lineage Project. He did serve as an uncompensated volunteer board member. So he was a volunteer board member for an agency that helps children deal with trauma. What he just did. Do you think he consulted the kids afterwards after he assaulted them? Nathaniel DiRenzo, 29, was arrested Saturday for the midday incident, which allegedly began when he and 2 other dog walkers yelled at some school kids throwing dirt and poppers at the poppers, and the argument escalates, throwing dirt and poppers. Now, poppers to me is one of 2 things. It's a jalapeno stuffed with cheese and deep fried with some batter, or it's a like a gas or whatever that people inhale. It's like a sexual thing. Poppers, right? I've heard it used in those circles. So I don't get the whole poppers thing. And if the kids are throwing jalapeno poppers at people, man, sign me up. Sign me up. So I love poppers. The other ones, no. Jalapeno, yeah, all day long. DiRenzo served on the board of directors for the Lineage Project. You must really hate kids. So this is what gets me, right? And in the other article, it doesn't have all this extra information. Isn't that interesting? But the reality is, you're in this world with me and everybody else in it, and we either have to laugh at it or not. If this guy can crack, who sits on the board of directors to help kids who are traumatized, and then one day he just decides to traumatize some kids, yeah, they were probably throwing dirt balls at him and being obnoxious, and he's walking his dog. People like their dog more than the kid. You know what I mean? That's a big deal. The dog especially, way more than the kid. You don't mess with dog owners, man. You know what I mean? So, and then this one too, which I had to, because this stood out also, which is also a New York City story, but it's in the Bronx. Good Samaritans foil stranger trying to abduct toddler walking with grandma in New York City. And this is how crazy and sick people are, man. A stranger tried to abduct a 3-year-old girl walking with a grandmother on a Broad Street. It was foiled by good Samaritans, cops said. Santiago Salcido, 27, approached the 65-year-old grandmother who was with the little girl and two infant grandsons around 1:20 p.m. at the corner of East Tremont Avenue and Baisley Avenue in Schuylerville. The creep then allegedly threw a comforter around the tot, picked her up, and tried to flee, run down the block. The grandmother's screams alerted people nearby, and they confronted Salcido, who put the child down. A worker at a nearby gas station jumped into action when the girl was taken. I was sweeping outside, and all of a sudden, this lady passed by with three kids. The guy grabbed from there. I'm like, for me, I thought it was family joking around, said Fermin Basiro, 63 years old. But the worker quickly found out that the threat was real. The grandmother was screaming loud. He's taking the little girl, and then I and a couple of people went and ran after him. The creep then let the girl go and started walking back to his scooter by a cemetery on Tremont. So you got the scooter guy. Oh, here's a picture of him. Man, oh my God. Look at the cop behind this dude. He was like, doesn't look happy. This guy's got a big smile. He thinks it's funny as hell, right? What do you think he would be done with that little 3-year-old girl? He looks like a psychopath. Little young Charles Manson. He then took off with the scooter, maybe a quarter mile or less. Then he left the scooter, then just kept walking like nothing. He was homeless. That was crazy. Police caught Salcido later Monday, and he was charged with kidnapping, attempted kidnapping, unlawful imprisonment, and endangering the welfare of a child. In July, a man tried to grab a 5-year-old boy who was walking with his family in Queens, cops said, and the horrifying July 15th abduction attempted near Myrtle and Hillside Avenues in Richmond Hill, which the family pulled the boy out of the abductor's car. Here's a picture of the dude from the gas station. He looks like a pretty cool bloke. Look at him, man. So the moral of the story is you're not safe anywhere. Does that mean you can't live your life? No. That means you got to watch out for people. The real moral of the story is that you have these ticking time bombs that are all over these cities, and whatever you want to call them, this guy's homeless, and a lot of people are homeless because they have terrible drug problems or some other kind of problem where they can't maintain. So, and mental health is at a crisis in the United States of America, if not the world. So you're going to have more of this. And who's in danger is that little 3-year-old girl. Who's in danger? The 5-year-old boy gets abducted. And then these people, they're not abducting these kids to take them home and have a good life. Their intentions aren't great for these children, obviously. So and then what's going to happen to this guy? I'll bet you nothing happens to this guy. I bet they slap his hands. They say he's mentally ill. He'll go into treatment for a few months. They'll release him back on the street. And then there he is out there again. There he is. I'll guarantee it. I've seen it happen thousands and thousands of times with people like this. And these repeat offenders just get their hands slapped. Right now, in New York City, Rikers Island, it sounds like the prisoners are running the place. I keep seeing story after story on how, that the place is understaffed and the prisoners are answering the phones. They live their lives in there like it's their own little city. It's like the movie Escape from New York. That's how the whole thing kind of started. And then they ended up building a wall around New York City, since it's an island, right? And putting all the criminals there. Or really just keeping everybody there in. Because pretty much what you got there now. You know what I mean? So, and if you want to talk about COVID-19 all day, the government will say they're doing this, they're doing that, they're trying to get people vaccinated, whatever. They're telling people get vaccinated. You're being irresponsible if you're not vaccinated, all that, right? Holding people accountable they're making mandates for workers, the whole bit. So look at this story. Migrants push past southern Mexico border city en route to U.S. Okay. So thousands of migrants, mostly from Central America, broke out of the Mexican southern border and starts continuing their march towards the U.S. More than 1,000 miles away. Over 2,000 migrants. Actually, that's a smaller crowd than what they usually have, right? 2,000 migrants pushed past the line of state authorities and blah 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 blah. They're on their way to America, right? And no masks, no vaccines. They're pushing past. I mean, there's no nothing, and they're the high rate of COVID in that group. So, and they're coming from countries that have variants that we just don't need or want, even though they're already here, but not in the numbers yet. But you bring more people in, and then that's what happens. So the last group that came in, they shuffled those people all over the United States of America, put them in almost every city, and no vaccine, no nothing. They're not saying if you come into the country, you have to get vaccinated, whatever, you know. So there's a problem there. To me, there's a huge problem there, and I think that if you want to be safe, you can at least have some enough rules and enough laws in place. But in the same sense, you still have basically half of America that's not getting vaccinated, that has taken a stance against it. Some people are on the fence, but most people are dug in, and it's political with them because it got politicized. Now look where we are. So I think that you need to protect yourself and your family, and what that is listen to your healthcare providers, understand the data that's out there. Don't get your data from Facebook or whatever social media. You know, it's the those people aren't scientists. They're not working in science. They're not healthcare professionals. They're just people who've been politically tainted, who are out there ranting. I've seen so much disinformation and misinformation on the vaccines and all that. I just shake my head, and I don't. It's a intelligence test for me of who I'm dealing with. If I hear them say they don't need to wear the mask because they don't believe in COVID-19, they don't believe in it. Come on, man. I see people out there in stores, and mainly now they're wearing masks in stores. You still have the scragglers who aren't or who don't, but we still have a crisis going on, and it's going to ebb and flow, and it's going to come back with other strains, and now you have this Delta plus that's on the heels of Delta, which is more infectious. So you're going to have just more of that, more of that, more of that, and reinfection. So the best bet, as far as all the data says, and not data from any particular source, is that it's better to be vaccinated than not. So that's that simple. So anyway, I'm going to end the show, man. I'm going to see you guys next week on this here show. Tune into the Halloween show, Halloween night on United Public Radio Network. I'll say it like a creepy vampire guy from Brooklyn, the Bronx. Yo, yo, tune in to the show, yo. Really, if you want to have fun, all the hosts are going to be on. There's probably going to be a lot of drinking, fighting, gunfire. Joe likes to fire his gun off at his roof, man. That's why he has to have people come in and fix his roof all the time, because he keeps firing bullet holes through it. Yahoo! You know how they live down south. You can't do that in New York, but down south, that's totally legal. You know that? Wrestling alligators in his backyard, making jumbo at the same time. That's cool stuff, man. You know that? Anyway, tune into the Halloween show. Alligator wrestling, gunfire, booze, people, all the hosts of past days. Hosts that we're going to conjure up, man. I'll see you guys on Sunday night, whatever time. I think it's 7 o'clock Eastern, but I could be wrong. I'll see you guys then anyway. Bye.